The Crusades and the evolution of the medieval knightly code. Introduction: Chivalry before the Crusades. Before the Crusades, the European knightly code was primarily centered on loyalty to one's lord, prowess in battle, and personal honor. While knights often viewed themselves as protectors of the weak, the realities of their actions frequently contradicted these ideals. Feudal rivalries and private wars dominated their lives, and their violent lifestyles were often at odds with the teachings of the Church. The Crusades, beginning in 1096, provided a transformative context for the evolution of the knightly code. With the Church endorsing holy war, knights were called to channel their martial skills toward a higher purpose: defending Christendom. This shift fused religious devotion with the warrior ethos, giving rise to the chivalric ideals that would define medieval knighthood. Chapter 1. The Call to Crusade and the Spiritualization of Knighthood. Pope Urban II's Vision of Holy War. Pope Urban II's sermon at Clermont in 1095 appealed directly to knights, offering them a path to spiritual redemption through warfare. By framing the Crusades as a penitential act, the Church elevated the role of knights from mere warriors to soldiers of Christ. This spiritualization of knighthood imbued their actions with a sense of divine purpose and transformed their identity. Urban's call also introduced the concept of the Milites Christi, soldiers of Christ, urging knights to protect the faithful, defend holy sites, and fight against the infidels in the name of God. A fictional perspective. Sir William's decision. Sir William of Aquitaine, a fictional knight, embodied the transformative power of Urban's appeal. Haunted by the blood he had spilled in feudal conflicts, William saw the crusade as a chance for redemption. "I have fought for gold and glory," William confessed to his confessor. "Now I will fight for God." Taking the cross, William pledged to uphold the ideals of Christian knighthood, marking the beginning of a journey that would challenge and reshape his understanding of honor and duty. Chapter 2. The Crusades and the Redefinition of Honor. From personal glory to divine duty. The Crusades shifted the focus of knightly honor from personal glory to collective service. Knights were expected to fight not for personal gain but for the defense of Christendom. This new framework emphasized virtues such as humility, piety, and self-sacrifice, aligning martial prowess with spiritual values. Knights who displayed courage and devotion during the Crusades were celebrated as paragons of chivalry. Figures such as Godfrey of Bouillon, who refused the title of king and instead styled himself Defender of the Holy Sepulchre, exemplified this ideal. A fictional perspective. William's struggles with honor. During the siege of Antioch, William faced a moral dilemma. His comrades looted the city, targeting not only Muslims but also Eastern Christians. Torn between his loyalty to his comrades and his commitment to chivalric ideals, William intervened to protect a family of Greek Orthodox Christians. "This is not the way of Christ," William declared, standing between the looters and their victims. Though his actions earned him the scorn of some, they reinforced his commitment to a higher standard of conduct. Chapter 3. The Knightly Code and the Protection of the Weak. Chivalry and Charity. One of the most enduring aspects of the Crusades' influence on the knightly code was the emphasis on protecting the weak. While this ideal was not always practiced consistently, the rhetoric of the Crusades often highlighted the need to safeguard pilgrims, defend the innocent, and provide for the poor. Religious orders such as the Knights Hospitaller exemplified this aspect of chivalry. Originally founded to care for sick and injured pilgrims, the Hospitallers combined martial and charitable missions, embodying the dual role of the knight as both protector and servant. A fictional perspective. William joins the Hospitallers. After witnessing the suffering of pilgrims on the road to Jerusalem, William joined the Hospitallers, dedicating himself to their mission. While he remained a warrior, his role expanded to include acts of compassion. "As knights, we wield the sword," William wrote in his journal, "but we must also extend the hand. True strength lies not in conquest but in kindness." Chapter 4. The Cult of Martyrdom and the Sacralization of Death. Martyrdom in Holy War. The Crusades redefined the concept of martyrdom within the knightly code. Previously associated with passive suffering, martyrdom now encompassed those who died in battle defending the faith. The Church promised that knights who perished in the Crusades would receive immediate absolution and entry into heaven, framing their deaths as a sacred sacrifice. This belief deeply influenced the psyche of Crusader knights, encouraging them to embrace death fearlessly. The cult of martyrdom also reinforced the idea that the Crusades were not mere military campaigns but divine missions. A fictional perspective, William's final sacrifice. During the Battle of Hattin in 1187, William fought valiantly alongside King Guy of Lusignan. Facing overwhelming odds, he rallied his men with a prayer. "We fight not for ourselves but for the glory of God. If we fall, let it be as martyrs." William was mortally wounded in the battle, but his courage inspired those who survived. His comrades carried his body to a nearby chapel, where they honored him as a true knight of Christ. Chapter 5: The Codification of Chivalry. The literary and cultural legacy. The Crusades inspired a wave of literature that celebrated the ideals of chivalry. Works such as the Chanson de Roland and the Song of Antioch glorified the deeds of knights, emphasizing their bravery, loyalty, and faith. These texts helped codify the knightly code, blending historical events with romanticized narratives. The cultural influence of the Crusades extended to Europe's courts, where chivalry became a central theme of courtly life. Tournaments and ceremonies often featured Crusader imagery, reinforcing the connection between knighthood and holy war. A fictional perspective, William's legacy. William's son, inspired by tales of his father's bravery, became a chronicler, documenting the lives of Crusader knights. His manuscript, The Song of Sir William, blended fact and fiction, immortalizing his father's journey and spreading the ideals of chivalry to future generations. Chapter 6: The Decline and Transformation of Chivalry. Disillusionment and the Later Crusades. As the Crusades progressed, the gap between the ideals of chivalry and the realities of war grew wider. The Fourth Crusade's sack of Constantinople in 1204 and the failures of subsequent crusades disillusioned many knights, exposing the contradictions of holy war. Despite this, the knightly code continued to evolve, incorporating lessons from the Crusades while adapting to new contexts. The ideals of chivalry persisted in the military orders and in the literature and art of the Middle Ages. A fictional perspective, the end of the crusading era. William's grandson, a knight who served during the fall of Acre in 1291, reflected on the decline of the Crusader states. "My grandfather fought for faith and honor," he wrote. "We fight for survival. Yet, even in defeat, his spirit endures." The knightly code is not bound to a place. It lives in the hearts of those who believe. Chapter 7: The Role of Knightly Orders in Shaping the Code. The Knights Templar, Piety and Military Precision. The Knights Templar, founded in 1119, became one of the most prominent military orders during the Crusades. These knights embodied the fusion of martial discipline and monastic piety, representing the ideal of the Crusader knight. Sworn to poverty, chastity, and obedience, they viewed their military service as a form of worship. The Templar Code emphasized loyalty, courage, and self-sacrifice. Their success in battle and their disciplined organization inspired admiration across Europe, and their actions became synonymous with the highest ideals of knighthood. However, their eventual fall in the early 14th century, due to political intrigue and accusations of heresy, demonstrated the precarious nature of blending religious devotion with worldly power. A fictional perspective, William's son joins the Templars. After the death of Sir William at the Battle of Hattin, his son, Robert, sought solace and purpose by joining the Knights Templar. As a novice, he struggled to reconcile the austere life of the order with the memories of his father's more romanticized ideals of knighthood. "Our path is narrow, and the world is vast," Robert wrote in a letter to his mother. "But in this service I have found clarity. We do not fight for glory but for the kingdom of God." Robert's commitment to the Templar Code shaped his life, inspiring those who served alongside him and leaving a legacy of discipline and devotion. Chapter 8: Women and the Chivalric Code. The Influence of Courtly Love. While the Crusades focused on the martial and religious aspects of knighthood, the ideals of chivalry also evolved in response to the culture of courtly love. Women played a central role in shaping the chivalric code through their influence in European courts. Poets and troubadours celebrated knights who demonstrated not only martial prowess but also loyalty, humility, and devotion to a lady. The idea of serving a lady as part of a knight's moral and spiritual journey paralleled the religious devotion demanded by the Crusades. Many knights viewed their service in holy war as an extension of their loyalty to the ideals of courtly love. A fictional perspective, William's devotion. Before departing for the Holy Land, Sir William pledged his service to Lady Eleanor, his wife. In letters sent from Antioch and Jerusalem, he described his struggles and triumphs, framing his deeds as acts of devotion to both God and Eleanor. "I carry your token beneath my armor," William wrote, referencing a silk scarf Eleanor had given him. "It reminds me that I fight for all that is pure and noble, for God's grace and for your honor." This blending of religious and romantic devotion reflected the dual influences shaping the knightly code during the Crusades.